Matt, I mean, there has been a lot of mistakes like this, correct? First let me establish, does the United States believe that Israel, what happened over the weekend was a result of a mistake?
So we are going to wait to see the full results of the investigation. We've seen, as I said, the preliminary investigation where Israel has said that they used the smallest bomb available to them to go after a very precise target. This wasn't a 500-pound bomb or a 2,000-pound bomb. I think it was like a 37 kilogram or 37-pound bomb, a much smaller weapon designed to hit one site 1.7 kilometers away from the Mawasi area where they have told civilians to move. Now, that said, clearly something happened. And what happened, we've seen Israel's claim that it might have been the results of hitting a Hamas ammo depot. It's not clear to me that they actually know, but they need to find out. They need to conduct the investigation, and we're going to eagerly await the investigation and press them to make sure that the results of that investigation are presented openly and transparently to us and to the world.
Right. So if we take the initial statements, Netanyahu said it was a tragic mistake. There has been a lot of headlines with those same comments, right? World Central Kitchen killings were also a tragic mistake. There was another one late last year on Maghazi camp that Israel has also called a mistake. Those are the two that comes to mind. I can find numerous other incidents. Is the United States comfortable sending this many weapons to an army that seems to be making a series of mistakes?
So let me say this. We are not comfortable with the loss of civilian life in any way, shape, or form, and I think we have made that quite clear. Number two, with respect to each of these incidents, it's important to find out what happened, why it happened, and who was at fault. And so it's important that this investigation proceed before we make any assessments that will help you answer that question. We've seen preliminary results. We want to see the full results. Yep. That said, and I'll say in previous investigations, for example, with the World Central Kitchen investigation strike, Israel did conduct an investigation and presented those findings publicly and then made changes in response to those findings, which we thought it was very important that they do. This seems to be a very different kind of strike, whereas in the World Central Kitchen, they made a mistake about what the target was, and they thought they were targeting Hamas terrorists, and they were not. That was a very clear mistake. In this instance, they were targeting what seems to be legitimate targets, and they were successful in taking out those targets. And then, likely as a result, there was this fire that broke out. It's not clear how it was ignited, especially, as I said, when it's over a kilometer and a half from the location of the strike. We need to find out how that happened. And if there are procedures that they need to put in place to prevent it from happening again, we expect them to put those procedures in place. When it comes to our policy, we have made clear that we oppose any full-scale military operation, and that what the ramifications to our policy would be of them launching such an operation in Rafah. We haven't seen them do that yet, but as I said, it is something that we are watching every day and are in communication with them every day.
Right, but a couple of more things. In terms of the accountability measures, you say that after the WCK attack, there has been some changes. But if we look at other incidents, the killing of Shireen Abu Akleh, for example, and there has been a series of different incidents that involved a large amount of killings of civilians. It doesn't look like the accountability measures are reprimanding certain forces. Are those really enough for the United States? I mean, we're talking about like the death of actual people here. We're talking about loss of life. Is the United States comfortable that several soldiers here and there are reprimanded? But what seems to continue to happen is there is a pattern of behavior, and that doesn't get to change in a large scale. So, are you okay with that?
So what we expect Israel to do is the same thing that we expect of our own military and the same thing that we expect of all our democratic allies and partners. We expect when people inside their military make mistakes, or when they operate outside of compliance with their rules of engagement, their own rules of engagement, or they operate outside of compliance with international humanitarian law, we expect them to fully investigate what happened. We expect them to make changes to policy if changes to policy need to be made, and we expect them to hold people accountable if accountability is appropriate. Now, with respect to the premise of your question, we're still in the middle of a conflict, and they have a number of investigations open, including criminal investigations into people who potentially violated international humanitarian law or violated Israeli law or violated the IDF's code of conduct. So I think it's too early to draw any broad sweeping assessments about that question. Investigations take time, and it's important that they run their course, but it's important that if accountability is merited, that accountability is what takes place, and we will be crystal clear with the government of Israel about their obligations to meet those standards.